So I took over that water distribution about 23 years ago, and basically it supplies water to that whole zone. And about 7 years ago, I started supplying drinking water to the large events of Auroville, because I felt like those who came to Auroville for these kind of tournaments, they trusted Auroville and they expected Auroville to give them good drinking water. So we started filtering the water and providing it, and we've been doing that since then. In the picture you see that tanker there. About 3 years ago, from the 50th anniversary, we were able to get this stainless steel tanker for Auroville. So we filter water and supply water through that tanker. And then about 10 years ago, I got involved in some research activities to improve the quality of water, because the water in the Auroshilpam area was very hard, and we were not able to use it for regular purposes. So I started experimenting with a couple of friends, and we started doing treatments in Auroville as well as in Spain. And so that's how I got involved in that research. So I'll just tell you a little bit about the zone and the water distribution setup, because that's where all this actually passion about water comes from. It comes from a real experience of dealing with water on a daily basis for the last 23 years, just having to deal with supplying water to people. So on this slide, just to introduce you to the zone. Auroshilpam is the name given to the part of industrial zone that is in the north. So that's the Auroshilpam area in green. And so what I did is, about 4 years ago, I had a volunteer who spent about 3 months helping us to put the whole water network onto Google Maps. And she was very effective in that, and so we actually put it all on the map. And this is a picture from Google Maps, and that's the zone there that's you see highlighted in white, and then this is a zone with the pipeline. So there are different layers that we created in the map, and so we put it all on the map with the pipelines and even the valves and the water tanks. I needed to do this because the system that I had been maintaining was totally dependent on me and my knowledge, and I had different people coming and operating it over the years, but I wanted it to be actually to have this information stored somewhere so that other people could come and also take it over or run it when I was not available. It is not as automatic as the other system in the residential zone, because the water is very hard in the Auroshilpam area, and we have this hard water doesn't allow us to have flow meters because they break down very quickly. So basically we have one operator who goes around and pumps water into everyone's tanks. He has to open one valve and close all the others to make sure it goes in that direction. So it's a lot of manual work. It creates a job for one person, but it also rations out the water, which is something that is not done in the other system. And in this way we were able to actually protect the bore wells. We don't pump more than a certain number of hours a day, because everybody gets their water tank filled. If they have an event and they need more water, they ask us and we fill it again. But everyone is very conscious about how much water they're using, and this system does not depend on who can pay for it. Even if they can afford it, we sometimes cannot supply it, so they have to work around that. And I think this is a different model of working in Auroville than the existing model, where we have one main tank that supplies unlimited water and you can pay as much as you want and use as much as you want. So this is a very, I think, a small scale water distribution setup, but it's also a different way of working. These are the users of the Auroshilpam water system. Basically we have Oro mode apartments and all the other activities in there that uses about 25% of the water. and then it goes down to a lot of small units. So we'll have about 23 different units using water in that area. So we only had one bore well operating for about 20 years. So 3 years ago we got permission to drill a second bore well because I felt like it was too much risk for that zone to only be operating on one bore well. So we drilled a second bore well at 120 meters, and fortunately we had very good water there. And but what happened is when we first started with that new bore well, the water level was at 22 meters. This was about 3 years ago. It was at 22 meters when we started. Today, that water level on the new bore well is at 56 meters. So I have seen it how in the last 3 years it's come down, and there was 1 year that it just jumped down like 15 meters, and I couldn't explain it. But I found out from the other neighboring wells in Alankupam that the same thing had happened, that they had also dropped by 15 meters that year. So the next slide will just show you the water level from 2017 in the beginning, where the water level was at 22-23 meters, and where it is right now, where it's like over here we've got it at about 59 meters today actually. So over the last 3 years you can see that the level of water does not recharge completely, and in the summers it's going down deeper and deeper. And so I have to thank first of all, let me thank the geomatics team for actually collecting this data. Every day when we turn on this pump, I'm conscious of exactly how many hours we pump and what's happening with that bore well. So this year actually it's coming down much faster than usual. In the last 1 month, the water level has dropped about 10 meters. So this summer is going to be very, very difficult actually. So this is the new bore well that we drilled 3 years ago. And so after the water level started dropping, one of the things we did was we decided to actually continue using the old bore well, because we said it's not possible to put everyone on the new one. So we continued to use the older one, which is much deeper. It's at 240 meters. This one is at 120. The next slide is this is the first bore well, which is at a 240 meter depth, and you can see actually that in the summers actually it's coming down more and more. So every summer it's like it peaks down a little bit more, but in the winters actually we don't have it recharging as much. So but this is the third aquifer. This bore well taps into the first, second and third aquifer. So there'll probably be a lot of water here for some time. But one thing that's happening to this water is that it's changing. As we have less water and we draw water from third aquifers, the water is getting harder, and it's not as good for agriculture or domestic use. So all this has sort of pushed me to look at water quality and what can we do to treat water to use this bore well also, but we have to find treatment methods to actually change the hardness and work on anything else that's there if there's pollution coming in. These two bore wells were actually tested with a water quality test that was done with our Auroville lab. And here we see actually the results in the first column. In the A column, it's actually, this is the old bore well, and that the B is the new one. So the old bore well, the deeper bore well, has actually more TDS, and the ones that are circled, the things I've circled are actually where those are beyond the limits. The new bore well, the only thing that is off is the pH. The pH is off. It's lower than it should be. So we did this comparison 3 years ago, and we're monitoring it very closely so that we can understanding what it is that we need to change in order to make it drinkable. right? So drinking water has certain standards, and we have to keep actually analyzing it quite regularly. Managing these 2 bore wells and supplying water has given me that everyday experience, and also the urgency to do something with water. And so for the last many years, I've been involved in various projects doing organic foods and other activities, and now I have changed from all that and focused completely on water solutions. And so this unit, Avision, was already existing for like 17 years, and we were doing consultancy and working on various projects. So now we are actually focusing completely on water and water quality and creating abundant water. So this is our vision for the work that's ahead. And how do we do this? Actually, we have to first understand the standards and quality of various waters, and then work on transforming them, treating them and transforming them, and basically work on experiments in water treatment and wastewater treatment. So we reduce this dependence on this borewell water and groundwater, which is actually depleting very, very quickly. We also have to research alternative ways for cultivation, because agriculture uses more than 70% of the groundwater. And as you know, in Tamil Nadu, everyone has free electricity, and so they can pump as much water as they want. This urgency and this experience of the borewells drying up, going down more and more every year, it has pushed me to work on water quality, so that we can start testing different types of water, understanding water quality, and then developing those technologies along with it. I have been working for like 6-7 years, wanting to set up a very professional lab that can help us with these tests. And so we set up this lab 2 years ago, and it's a chemistry and microbiology testing lab. And basically we're focusing on accuracy and precision, and confirming to all the international standards. It is set up outside Auroville because of the funding that came in and the ease of operating it and its independence that we need. So this lab is actually there to support all the activities that we want to do and are doing in Auroville. So working on this lab, I learned a lot about water quality and precision, because these are things that I've not experienced earlier. So NABL, which is a National Accreditation Board of Laboratories, in which we're going to get certified, classifies water in these various categories. There's construction water, drinking water, ground or borewell water, industrial water, irrigation water, packaged drinking water, surface water, swimming pool water, and seawater. So in order to get certified, we had to take samples of all these different types of waters and analyze them and do all types of uncertainty calculations to show what is the range in which the results can be given accurately. And for the wastewater, that comes under the pollution and environment section actually. So these are the categories for which the lab is getting certified. And here's a picture of a balance, the weighing balance that we use. And for me, even though I had done a lot of physics, I had not come across this kind of accuracy and weighing balance. This is a 0.1 milligram weighing balance. It costs more than 80,000 rupees, and you need a couple of these to operate. So it's a level of accuracy that I feel we have to get into in order to actually become more precise about looking at the quality of water. And then the standards with which we're working are for the water and wastewater. They are basically Indian standards and also the American APHA standards. and these are the two methods that we use to test for water. And then we have various standards for the effluent and for the discharge of sewage. Basically, we've got to follow the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board standards. So there's been so much learning that's gone on with this, and I think it's very important for us to learn about the standards that are out there in the world, and that eventually we will have to actually apply them to our setups in Auroville, and then maybe develop our own standards. But it's like we have very often here in Auroville, we've not had the opportunity earlier to deal with such rigid standards, because even with the building codes and all, we build freely as we want, but at some point we will have to also comply to make things safe. Now, in Avision, one of the things we're doing is we're doing water quality monitoring. So we have taken borewell water from various borewells around Auroville and also the village, and we're doing analysis of that, and we want to take that further and do some more research with it. And the two other projects that are going on are wastewater treatment for irrigation and some hydroponic cultivation. The borewells that are adjacent to Auroville and that are in the village, the water is very bad compared to the Auroville water. So if we want to actually even protect our water and know what's going on, we have to go out into the surrounding area and test everyone's water. And so, we are so interrelated here that we cannot just live in our little master plan area, and we have to actually go into the bioregion and work with people there and start testing. Water quality is just as important as the depth of the borewell, because that gives us so much information about whether we can actually use the water or not for domestic purpose. I'm constantly thinking about the quality, because as it goes down, we will have harder and harder water with more pollution coming in, and then actually that's going to affect us physically, because everybody drinks pure drinking water from a filter, but you're not filtering your water for taking a shower or watering plants. So we're indirectly actually using water that has not been treated in a way, and it is, not to create any panic or anything, but it's very important to actually think about all the rest of the uses of the water that's going on around us. So in talking just recently to Margarita, she's saying there's E. coli in most of the water supply around Auroville. So, how do we monitor that regularly? How do we test that regularly? I think this is the kind of conversation that I want to initiate, that we keep looking at water quality, and not just the water quantity that is actually going down. And also, as we have less water, how do we work on converting the existing waters that are there in different forms into a form that can be used? For example, if you have stored water from the rain, it cannot be used directly for domestic purpose. It has to be treated in some way. And there are a lot of experiments going on here in Auroville to store rainwater and to catch water in catchment ponds. Are those ponds going to just stay there as ponds, or are they going to be used for irrigation or for domestic purpose? So we also have a lot of wastewater that is being treated right now in the residential zone. It's coming back up to Mahalakshmi Park, and it is available for irrigation, but it's not 100% ready yet. There's still some things in it that need to be changed or treated. So in that context, we need to monitor it. We need to work on finding technologies to treat it, and that's where this unit and myself are going to work on. The other concern that I have for this water going down is the use in agriculture. As the Food and Agriculture Organization says, 70% of the fresh water is used for agriculture. So how do we replace that? I'm not sure that we have thought about that enough in Auroville, and I think if Auroville is going to be a sustainable city, it needs to also address this question: where are we going to produce our food from, and how much water are we going to use? There's an attempt to put water meters on the domestic usage, but I think everybody has got to be conscious about how much water they're using for producing something also. And the farms are the biggest users of water in the world. In India, agriculture uses even more than the world average. It uses around 80%. We did some trials with this NFT method, nutrient film technique method, and these methods of growing in hydroponics use only 5% of the water used in regular agriculture. So for me, it makes sense that actually we move towards trying these technologies out. I don't think it's the only solution, but I think we have to try and we have to research. So there's also a very high rate of yield per square meter of land, and one can also grow the whole year long. So you're less dependent on the changes in climate, which are happening more frequently. So these are the projects on which we're working right now, and this is where actually the unit is going. It's going to do research on wastewater treatment, hydroponics, and water quality education, so that we all start to actually think about that and maybe implement more quality measures in Auroville. I think we are just actually one piece of the puzzle, and we're just trying to plug that piece there. In all the discussions over the years, I have not seen as much talk or work on the quality, and so that's why I felt like jumping into this area of working on setting up a lab, working on research on water quality, and really getting experts here who can help us to work with all the treatments and other technologies that can help us to be sustainable. So thank you.